Happy Wednesday night and welcome to an episode of A Look on the Plus Side. Thank you guys for being with us as always. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to this great new channel, the Park Adventurers Club, what are you waiting for? It's free. We got good people. We hang out. We do a lot of content. So please subscribe to this channel, like this video if you can, and also please make sure to say hello to my good friend. It's Shannon. How are you, Shannon?
Hello, I'm great. Happy hump day, everyone. Hump day.
No, we're not. I mean, next thing you're going to be yelling, "What's up?" It's going to be I'm not. No, we're not going to do that. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We appreciate you. Tonight we're going to be talking about 101 Dalmatians, and there was some misunderstanding on my part because I reach out to my fellow pack members and say, hey, what do you want to talk about? And Shannon was like, I want to talk 101 Dalmatians. And I didn't realize she said the live action one. So on our park show Sunday night, I was like, well, we're definitely not talking about the live action one. We're 100% not talking about the live action one, but I'm eating crow and saying, it's all my fault, Shannon. We are going to talk about the 1996 live-action 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close and Pongo and Perdita and the whole gang. This is the one we're talking about. And honestly, you chose this one, so you tell the folks why.
For me, this was a classic when I was growing up. It's an iconic 90s Disney live action movie for me. I have memories of re-enjoying this movie. So I had not seen it in many, many years up until today when I did my watch. So, no spoilers. Rob is very kind in letting me choose which shows or movies rather to review. And this one just popped in my head as like that VHS. My sister and I pulled it out often. So let's get into it.
Okay, so one of the things that I want to bring up, because I've talked about this a lot with Dalmatians, the IP, not the dog, but the IP of like see, I got the 102 Dalmatians thing here. It is that it's underrepresented. I feel like for something that Disney has leaned into so much over the years, and there was the original 1961 animated. There was this 1996 101 Dalmatians, but there have been a couple other things. There was a TV show, and several other things. If you look at Disney Plus here, you can see there's the 101 Dalmatians. That's the animated one we know. There's 101 Dalmatians 2. Interesting that they went that direction, which is Patch's London Adventure. That was a direct to video release. There's this one that we're doing, 101 Dalmatians, and then of course Glenn Close reprised her role as Cruella de Vil in the 102 Dalmatians, and then there was a series called 101 Dalmatian Street. So, again, they've spent a lot of time and energy on the 101 Dalmatians, but yet when you go into the parks, there's not really representation of it. And there is, if you go to, what is it?
All-Star Movies.
All-Star Movies. But I mean, thinking about, we talked about on another show, we talked about Once Upon a Time, Jiminy Cricket in that his dog was Pongo. So like even they're keeping the lore of 101 Dalmatians in here. And it started out as a book. I don't know that I knew that it started out as a book. I should have known that, but it started out as a book in the 50s, and by 1961 we already had an animated feature for it, which I think is pretty cool, since usually Walt was going back to like digging up tomes of trolls and ice queens and things like that. But this happened again in 1961. This movie came out, the animated one. This one is 1996, and it had some twists to it, which I love, because the live actions that are just like a shot for shot, I don't have a lot of patience for those, and I always call out, and maybe you have one that you dislike a lot, but I always call out Lion King because I love the 1994 animated. The remake was basically a shot for shot with less charm and heart. And so, I mean, is this, when you think about this movie, do you think about it in relationship to all these other live actions that we've seen, like Snow White and, the upcoming Moana and Stitch, or do you think of it as just a 90s frolic for you?
I thought about this before coming on tonight, and I I don't like the live action remakes of today, but I did like them back then. And I can't really decipher, is it a nostalgia thing? Or, were they really better? But when I was rewatching this today, hearing just the music alone made it feel more Disney, more whimsical, where I feel like the live actions of today sometimes seem a little more serious. And again, maybe it's that 90s like cheese factor going on. But I tend to err on the side of um, preferring the live actions of the 90s and not really caring for the ones today.
Yeah. Someone said Stitch, which was me, and then here comes Jake entering the chat. So, um, yeah, because that I feel like people are excited about Stitch. I feel like, I mean, most people, like, obviously Snow White. We don't talk about that one. It's like we don't talk about Bruno, we don't talk about Snow White because there was so much divisiveness about the actress in the movie, and we're not going to get into all that. But I feel like this one kind of stands before all these others. It wasn't part of the revolution that was the live action remake. And the funny part is it wasn't the first one. Do you know what the first one was?
First live action remake?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh,
This
I
is
should know
not
this.
part of the trivia, but I'm just so Disney
What?
in 1994 made the Jungle Book.
Oh,
So with
not that
Jason
Hook is
Lee.
really a live action.
No, and Hook isn't
Yeah.
Disney either. Like I guess I should have clarified to say specifically Disney,
Gotcha.
because Hook was not Disney. But yeah, so the Jungle Book was, and then this one. So I mean, the Jungle Book was '94. This one was '96. You know, one I don't usually think of in terms of live action is that Christopher Robin Ewan McGregor movie.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
Because
so there was another Jungle. This wasn't the Jungle Book remake. There were two remakes, right?
mhm. Yep. Yep, there was the I think it was Jason Scott Lee was in it. Sam Neill was in it. It was 1994. And then in 2016, John
That's the one
Favreau
I'm thinking of.
remade The
Yep.
Jungle Book, which is considered, I think, by many one of the best live action Disney remakes that
Hmm.
exists. So, Cruella is up there too, which Cruella is part of that Dalmatian universe, I guess, because Emma Stone played Cruella de Vil in 2021. But looking through them, you have some that feel like throwaways, like Peter Pan and Wendy and Lady and the Tramp. They were Disney
Yeah.
Plus. They didn't put a lot of I don't feel like they put a lot of marketing and promotion and push into them. And then you have the bigger ones like Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp or Maleficent
Mm.
with Angelina Jolie. Those really got a lot. But would you be surprised if I told you that Rotten Tomatoes, you're familiar, ranked the live actions, and there are 23. Would that have surprised you that I
Mm.
would have said 23?
Oh, I think
No?
I think that's right.
Okay. And would it surprise you if I told you this one they listed at 20 out of 23?
Oh, okay. Well, listen. I'm trying to be spoiler free, but no, it does not surprise me.
Okay. Anyway, so again, I just kind of wanted to put that out there and say, hey, look, there are a lot of live actions. I don't know if we count this in that group because it does feel like more of a, like Flubber and some of these other like 90s movies that were put out there.
Oh,
And
Flubber.
yeah, oh, Flubber for sure.
Mm.
So this one had actually at the box office made $320 million worldwide, 136 million domestically, and it cost 67 million to make. As I'm watching this movie, rewatching this movie, I'm looking at it going, how much money did they give Glenn Close to do this? I mean, Glenn Close was
Yeah,
the scary,
half that.
yeah, but like she was the scary, like between Fatal Attraction and this, she was in everyone's nightmares at that point. Like married couples and children were afraid of Glenn Close back in the day. But I was like, man, I hope they gave her a ton of money because as she's like slipping and sliding in like molasses and mud
Yeah.
and all this stuff, and I just think of her as such a higher end actress. She made $4 million, and I feel like it wasn't enough.
Wow. I agree. I feel like she truly is the star of this movie. I think she was made for that role personally.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in what, a year, it's going to be 30 years since this thing came out.
You're calling me old, Rob?
Yes. Finally, someone had to say it out loud. We've all been afraid of Shannon to say how old she was, but now we have to call her out. No, I again, it's one of those things where time flies, and we're looking at some of these movies and going, well, that wasn't all that long ago. Yeah, it was. It was 30 years ago. So it came out in November of 1996. So it will be on November 27, 1996. It will be 30. I mean, November 27, 2026. It'll be 30 years old. Kind of
Classic
crazy. So,
Thanksgiving movie drop.
yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of different things about this movie versus the animated movie. Obviously, the music is not there. If you listen to the end credits, you'll hear Dr. John's version of Cruella de Vil, which is interesting. I don't hate it. But you don't hear it until the end credits. But you don't hear the other stuff that we're used to hearing, like Dalmatian Plantation, or hearing Cruella de Vil during that. And so I think that's definitely something that's a little bit different about this one. The other thing is that also there's a song on a TV commercial for Canine Crunchies. Canine Crunchies can't be beat. It wasn't in there. I'm so sad because instead of watching a Canine Crunchies commercial, they're watching the Aristocats.
Yeah, but don't you love that Easter egg?
I do.
I
do.
Yeah.
I do. But again, I love Canine Crunchies. The jingle, not the, I don't partake in the treat. But anyway, so there's those, that's a difference in here. And then also the dogs don't talk, which makes it very different. Because in the other one, the dogs, the animated version, the 61, and I'm not going to keep comparing the two, but in that version, the dogs talk, which helps us to understand things like the Twilight bark. That makes no sense. If you've never seen the original or you didn't read the book, that when Pongo goes up on the roof and starts barking and then other people bark back, and I mean, other dogs, not people, well, the nanny does. But when they start barking, you don't understand that that's the Twilight bark. And I think the sequel book was something like the Twilight bark. So it's interesting that that's not here, and we just assume that that's how they're communicating. I actually tracked it, and at one point there is a 6-minute gap between the time when when Pongo decides to go up to the roof and 6 minutes later until anything is said other than Roger yells Pongo twice. 6 minutes. Where it's just like there's no dialogue for 6 minutes, and that seemed like forever to me for a movie that's an hour and 44 minutes. But the other thing they could have done, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, is they could have gone Air Bud on this. They could have done the computer right?
Yeah.
The computer
Well,
generated.
they did have a little computer generated dog. Oh, I guess not talking, but when they go sliding down.
And that felt awful to me.
It did.
Not awful.
It really did.
It felt awkward to
bad.
me that when that happened. I agree with you, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Is we've gone this far without the CGI dogs, and it was so unnecessary for us to see them in that tube.
And then also, to this point, they made a choice to not have the dogs talk. And the dogs really act like real dogs in real life. But then you get later on in the movie, and the raccoons, there's a time when the raccoon was clearly real, and I guess they were able to train it. But then there was like a raccoon that was an animatronic or a puppet of some sort, and it was so fake that I didn't really, that didn't connect to me, that you have dogs acting like real dogs, but then you have other animals acting like cartoons or fake.
The one with the hat, where he's wearing the hat and they lure her in. There's a lot of that. It's very weird. Jungle Cruiser says Glenn Close was possibly paid $4 million, and per Yahoo was able to keep all the costumes from the movie.
Wow. Well, that's a big deal.
Yeah. No, it is, especially since these were supposed to be one-of-a-kind designers, because that's what she does in this. She's very The Devil Wears Prada.
Yes, I was gonna say that's kind of what my appeal to this movie. I love the Devil Wears Prada. Um, so it gives that vibe. Very similar if you like that movie.
Yeah. Okay. So the things that are similar, though, there are some things that are similar. Is that there's a very moving part in the original animated where they're like 15 puppies, and it's like, oh, 14. And then, that's sad, that's devastating when you're a kid. And as a matter of fact, the original animated and this one are both rated G, and that's a big deal. It's like,
Yeah.
Dad, why is that, that dog in a towel? Like, why did they go from 15 to 14? Like, that's some grown-up stuff back in the day, right? So they bring the puppy into Roger, who's waiting in the waiting room as if this is some sort of a 1950s dads in the lobbies cigar smoking situation with Pongo. When Perdita is giving birth to the puppies, and they bring out the one puppy and give it to Roger. It's like, oh, you can't come and see the rest of the puppies, but here's the dead one.
My God.
And so he's like, he rubs it a little bit, and then it just like kind of comes back. But there's this line that Roger in the animated uses that it's stuck in my brain. I use it out loud in conversations and don't even realize it, where he goes, and yet I wonder. And so they sort of said that. I mean, Jeff Daniels says, I wonder. And then he just but he doesn't do anything. Like in the other one, like Roger's kind of rubbing it. And because he had attempted to give Anita mouth to mouth for some reason, for like, she fell into like 19 inches of water, and he's trying to give her mouth to mouth to revive her. I was thinking that he would try to like resuscitate the dog, but he just kind of pushed on it a little bit, like not even in rhythmic. He just, it's alive. We have 15 again. That was basically like the one in the movie, in the animated movie. The other thing is that that's different is that in the animated, Roger's a jingle writer. In this one, he is a video game maker, because it's the 90s. We're hip and new and futuristic, and he's a video game creator. And the video game, I love the fact that the video game is basically animation that looks like it was ripped right out of the original movie.
Agreed. Like, yeah, that's real. That's another cute nod.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, again, there are things that are in common, and there are things that are different back and forth between them. But I honestly, I think there's enough different in this one that you could watch both movies and not feel ripped off. I feel ripped off by The Lion King. I'm taking it very personally. I know. Again, I'm taking it very personally. When it opens up, we meet Pongo and Roger, and Pongo is walking around, and he's doing all of these things, and there are all these contraptions as if he's the Wayne Zelinsky from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, with all his inventions that allow Pongo to open doors, that seems like a bad idea for a dog. The ability to open the door and just
Agreed.
go wherever he wants to. And then like he goes and gets the milk by putting his entire mouth down on the top of the milk and bringing it in. That's not really overly sanitary, I'm sure. There's a lot of times in this movie, Shannon, where, again, you and I have talked about this before. There's got to be rules. I'm all about the rules. And in this one, I feel like I caught myself and said, you know what? This is a live action adaptation of an animated film. I'm okay with the weird stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like, the wedding happens and there's a whole yard of dogs for no particular reason outside with just sitting. Never happened. Like, why is this happening? I don't get it. Or that Pongo can open the door, get the milk, and not just flee. Like, I don't, like, my dog would have, you can't open any door without my dog deciding, like, hey, this is the chance where I break away. But maybe Roger's just a better pet owner than I am.
Well, but then Pongo is not very well behaved in the park, right? You would think with all those fancy contraptions, the dog is very well trained and very well behaved, but then he takes off and causes a ruckus.
Yes, a ruckus. Yeah. I love that the computer is like this Apple IIe home computer situation, and it says hello Pongo to him, and again, he can he can open the door and go outside and get the milk and then somehow close it. I know the button opened it for him, but then, yeah. And then we go over to Perdita and Anita and their place, and it's a little bit of a different scene because it's a little bit nicer and there aren't a bunch of gadgets and they're just having a nice peaceful time sitting there. She's, having breakfast and they're watching TV to see that a tiger was murdered.
Yeah. Like, what the heck?
Like, and I get at the end why this had to happen, because now that, they went, otherwise, like, they'd have to take the dog's word for it that it was Cruella behind the scenes, but because they found the tiger in her house, now they know that she was a party to that. But it's, again, very dark. Like, they use the word carcass. The lion, the tiger's carcass was found. So, yeah, it's kind of nuts. In this version, Roger's a little bit more curmudgeon, I feel, than he is in the cartoon.
He seems like bitter. He had his heart broken at some point, and he thinks that women make fools. I guess women make men look bad. One other thing that didn't add up to me about Anita is she seems to live a pretty nice life. There was a comment made later in the movie by Cruella's henchmen that they weren't getting paid for anything. It doesn't seem like doesn't pay well.
Doesn't, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, she seems to be well off, more well off than poor Roger, but he can't sell his game is the problem. So, and that whole situation was pretty interesting too with Roger, where he's he's pitching his video game, and the person who is in charge of deciding whether he gets the video game through or not is a little kid who is probably maybe 10, and they say he's been doing this since he was 6. So he's sitting in the chair and playing the video game, and there's that animation we were talking about, and he seems to like the game okay, but he doesn't like the villain because the villain is not bad enough. Everything else is, he gives a very critical, like, well thought out review, but yeah, he's like, the graphics
I do love
are
that
good.
scene though. It's very 90s. All of it is very 90s, and that makes me feel nostalgic.
The fact that you have this kid sitting there and he's the head of the boardroom and all that kind of stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's pullover sweater, yeah. The TV.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and I was looking at the video game system that's on the table there, going, what video game system was this? Because I feel like I had every single video game system in history. It sort of looks like a Nintendo 64. It looks like a, I don't know what, it almost looks like a Sega Dreamcast maybe, but like, yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but what was funny about this too is as the credits roll at the end, there's something that says that there's a CD-ROM available from Disney Interactive, and I was like, wow, that's the most dated thing in this entire movie.
That's
is that
great.
There's a CD-ROM available from Disney Interactive. Yeah, I mean, give me. I want in. I wanted. I literally Googled it, and I was like, where can I get that CD-ROM? I want that in my life, and I found an interactive storybook, but I couldn't find that CD-ROM. So if anybody out there has that CD-ROM, let me know. I'd like I'd like a copy. That'd be kind of cool. So again, Roger seems like a little bit of a curmudgeon. He's, when he finally, to your point, like he's leaving here and Perdita's leaving, not Perdita, Anita is leaving her office. They meet at the park, but only after Roger's been thrown into a lake, which, by the way, I feel like Roger almost died like 90 times as Pongo's ripping him through the city. And
a very drawn out scene.
Yeah. But again, I'm forgiving that because it's very cartoonish. When he's going down the steps and his teeth are chattering as he's doing this, that's very much a cartoon. And I think you are a great example of, like, kids at the time loved that stuff. Anything slapstick, and smack a guy in the face with a board, that is funny. It's been, but it was so interesting like I would just have to take a beat and go, okay, yeah, obviously that's not how it would have happened, but it's an animated film come to life, and I think they did a good job with that. If you remember, there was a Hulk movie, the first Hulk movie, which was by Ang Lee, which everyone hated, was supposed to be like a comic book, and so that's what he was going for in that, and I think that's what they went for here, is that they want to make it animated movie come to life. A lot of gags, a lot of slapstick, a lot of things that don't make sense. Which brings me to my next point. How quickly they became engaged and married. Does that bother you at all?
Yeah, it was a little too over the top whirlwind romance. I really didn't care for that part of the movie, and I didn't remember it from watching it as a kid, but I mean, love at first sight, I suppose.
Yeah, true. By the way, about the video game, Care Bear says that it might have been a modified Super Nintendo prop. It does look very Super Nintendo-ish, yes. So, yeah, but I mean, it was like he's not happy with Anita because she smacked him in the face with 3 bricks that she had in her backpack. And then they meet up again and she falls in the water, and then they cut to them and they're kind of like, well, this isn't so bad. No, it's pretty nice. No, do you want some marriage? Did you just say marriage? Well, yeah, let's get married. And then they kiss for the first time ever. And then what seems like the next day they get married. And so
Yes.
happens like this. But again, maybe it's just because it doesn't matter to you if you're a kid in 1996. You don't care. That's the mushy stuff. We don't care about that stuff. Like, let's just get through that, and then we'll be, we'll move on to the next phase, which is everyone's pregnant. Perdita's pregnant, Anita's pregnant, maybe Roger, I don't know. But it just, like, again, it moves very fast through that part so we can get to the puppies. But what's so funny is this is an hour and 45 minutes. I feel like they should have all the time in the world to take their time with this story, but they went almost immediately to they're married and they're going to have puppies.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, you skipped over the very awkward part in the park when Roger thinks that he has Pongo, but it's really Anita, and he decides to look in the undercarriage instead of just realizing that the dog doesn't have a collar on to identify the correct dog.
No, I didn't approve of that part. That was not great.
I did not.
I'm not sure I wanted to get into that, but yeah.
Sorry, it had to be said if we're going to be. No, you didn't have to show it. See, Rob, you didn't. Why'd you have to do that?
Lean in. I
felt like it happened.
It's rated G. What am I showing you that's not rated G here? It's rated G.
This is why we're talking about it. I don't think that was a G moment.
Even Pongo. It does the whole thing. Yeah.
Like,
when have you ever? Although I will say, can I talk about this now already? Is it too soon to talk about this?
What?
So, I don't know. I feel like I feel like this is gonna be super awkward. Sorry, but part of me feels like this has to be a conversation. So, I'm not gonna show the scene, but when they go through. And they're giving. I'm jumping all over the place, but that's okay, because it's sort of spoiler free at this point, right? I mean, we're not telling you everything that's happening, but we're talking about it. There's a scene where they're giving the dogs collars with their names on them.
Yes.
And they very specifically call Jewel over and give Jewel a pink Jewel. And I think they refer to her in the pronouns of she. And you could tell it's not a she as she walks over. You could tell that's not a she.
I wasn't looking, Rob.
I wasn't trying to look. I was just right there. I was like, wait a minute. And I thought, but I'm not going to show that part. I thought that was weird and interesting. It's also interesting to me the ones that they name in here. Like, we didn't have Rolly in this one.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites because I associate well with Rolly when I eat a whole bag full of candy or a full pizza. Is that one of the lines he uses again is a line I use in my everyday life. That whole like, I'm hungry, I really am, like that whole. That's such a great thing. I miss him not being in here. But Two Tone, where did Two Tone come from?
Two Tone, I don't like it. Yeah, no.
Like I was like, how do we even spell that one? Jungle Cruiser says there's a 101 Dalmatian video game on PlayStation. Remember, Lassie was a boy being played by by a girl. Yes, um, but uh, I have a Dawn says I have a Rolly T-shirt that says I'm hungry.
That's great.
He's the greatest. Like cutting him out was like obviously you have to have that scene with them like resurrecting Lucky so that we can call him Lucky. But yeah, it was weird the choices that they made for the names on this one because like is there a spot is in this one? There's not.
I don't think so. I think it's just Dipstick and Two Tone and Jewel.
Right. Weird. Yeah, and also weird that it seems like and Nanny even says this out loud. She says something about saving the food scraps because we don't have a lot of money and we have to make everything count. And yet she went and bought these dog collars that each one comes in a jewelry box.
They looked really high end.
That they get for 15 dogs. We got money for collars, but we don't have money for dinner. Like that's
and that nanny. Who's the nanny for?
Well, they kind of talk about that. She says something about a nanny. Well, we don't really need you yet because we don't have kids. And then she's like, well, I can look and tell when somebody's pregnant, and she is and you are. And then they both go to. This was the most ridiculous scene where both Anita and Perdita go to their own like OBGYNs at the same time, and I'm just like, it seems a little. Yeah, it seems a little ridiculous because, like, I've never been to a vet that I didn't have to like take my dog in. Yeah. But apparently, when you go to this one, you can just sit outside, and I guess they talk to the dog. I don't know.
I didn't even pick up on that.
But again, that's one of those where I'm going, okay, it's for the comedy of it, that they both went in at the same time. This is obviously different from what we see in the original one. So, why is Jeff Daniels American? We never addressed that.
I don't know.
Think here's my theory. I think the reason they got married so fast was it was a green card wedding. I think that he proposed. Get this, he proposed quickly because he was about to lose his work visa because he couldn't sell his video game.
Oh my gosh. That is honestly real good theory.
Right? Yeah. I also think it's fun how for some reason Cruella de Vil just is like in their house when they get home. Like she
just walks in.
She's just in there going through their mail. No big deal. That's a nice outfit though, isn't it?
I love her outfits.
I hear rumor that they got to keep their outfits or that she got to keep her outfits.
That's what the chat says.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, Jungle Cruiser said it, and I think Kira Bear said it too. So I mean, I believe it for sure. However, in our and I'm trying to find it really quickly just because we're talking about it right now. But in our Discord, our good friend William had gone to an event tonight where it was Heroes and Villains at his local museum, where it's a touring Disney Archives thing about heroes and villains of Disney and their costumes and things. And so one of the things that he sent me was a picture from that event, and it's this.
Oh, that's cool.
So they actually have this outfit, which is the one, I believe, isn't that the one that she's wearing here? Maybe not. But it's very close. So yeah, it's iconic. But again, you were talking about Devil Wears Prada. That's kind of the role she's playing in here, and that's what you said you liked about it.
Yeah. Why does the actress's name escape me? This is so embarrassing. From The Devil Wears Prada.
Meryl Streep?
Yes, Meryl Streep. I feel like Meryl Streep and Glenn Close are almost identical in the roles that they're playing. Evil head of a fashion empire, and I love it.
Yeah. No, okay, I get it. Yeah. So again, they've gotten married. They're gonna have a kid, and she's gonna have puppies. And so here comes Cruella de Vil, and she's upset that Anita's gotten married, and then she's pretending like I guess she does hate Roger because I think she looks at Roger as somebody who stole Anita away from her because of getting married, and then then he breaks the news that that she's gonna have a kid, but they're gonna have puppies. And I love the line where she's like, I have no use for kids, but I definitely have use for puppies. And it's like, was that not a red flag for you when she said I have a use for puppies? It's kind of crazy with that whole thing, but she is perfect in this role. I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be an interesting thing for us to do with each episode of A Look on the Plus Side? And I'm not talking about doing it tonight because we would have had prep. But if we were to like modern day recast this movie, like who would you put that would be as iconic as Glenn Close was at that time? In like, I thought about Emma Thompson maybe, but she maybe wouldn't be the right role for that.
Well, isn't Emma Thompson in Cruella?
Emma Stone.
Am I remembering that? No, but
she might be. Yes.
I thought
she's the bad lady in that one, right?
Yeah.
Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, I don't know who that would be these days, but I guess they made the call that it was Emma Stone. But it's so interesting, that both of these are American actresses. They usually the other way around. They usually find a British actor or actress to play an American versus doing it vice versa.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cast for a second, because one of the things that I found so interesting about this is like when you see the cast and you go, wait a minute, I know them from something. Or it's like Hugh Laurie, Dr. House. Dr. House is playing the slapstick role of like Horace in this thing.
This must have been before his start, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was bad. Jasper. Mark Williams was Horace, and I was like, where do I know Mark Williams from? The same place Pirate? I know almost every single solitary British actor from Harry Potter. He was Arthur Weasley. In Harry Potter. So, yeah.
I think he's in Pirates too.
Mark Williams?
Yeah,
could be.
I think so.
I mean, again, they probably need people. I don't know that he is. I think you may be thinking about somebody else, but I could be wrong.
He's like the British soldier.
Yeah, that would track, but I don't, just like quickly looking down, I just know Arthur Weasley for sure is the one that stood out to me. And but again, this was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago. There's a lot of slapstick with Horace and Jasper, including the part where they decide that they're going to get on logs to get over top of the electrified fence, and then they drop their crotches on the electric fence and then waddle off. And I just thought, kids must have loved that. That must have been a big thing, right?
See, that scene was so cringy to me. I wanted it to be like the Home Alone scene when, is it Marv? When he's electrocuting himself on the sink. Do we know what I'm talking about? And he's like, ah, and he becomes the skeleton. Like, to me, that was hysterical. It's hysterical to me as an adult. And this scene was just cringy, and I wanted it to be over. It's bad acting.
It's funny you would bring up the wet bandits, because that's immediately what I thought of with these two, is that this was totally Home Alone, what they did with these guys in this one. And it's to the point where in this, Hugh Laurie actually looks a little bit like Daniel Stern.
Yeah. A little bit.
I mean, there's one scene where he looks like him exactly, but the way the hair is and everything else, it could be, this could be a remake with, of Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci as the Wet Bandits. But it's the same thing with the raccoons, though, and setting them up, and the way they set up the truck and the explosion in the face and the electrocution and all the fire and all that kind of stuff is very Home Alone. Only instead of it being Kevin, it's the raccoons. They're rascals. They're absolutely rascals. So, that was another note that I had, is it just felt very, very Home Alone. One of the things I thought was interesting too is one of the actors who plays her assistant, Lucas, I think was the character's name. Um, Al- Maybe it was Alonzo. It was Alonzo, I think.
Yeah.
She says, "What kind of sycophant are you?" And he says, "What kind of sycophant do you want me to be?" And I thought, why did I never realize how hilarious that line was?
But I've heard that line, I feel like, many times before.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get out much, I guess, is the problem. Joan Plowright played the nanny. She passed away just this year. So yeah, she was the nanny in it. Did a lot of children's and family movies in her illustrious career. She was the Baleen in the voice of the dinosaur Baleen in Dinosaur. She was in 101 Dalmatians. That's this one. Dennis the Menace.
I
Again,
love Dennis the Menace.
a lot of family-oriented movies that she was in, and again, she played the nanny in this one. Jolie Richardson played Anita, and I don't really know a lot about her career, but I know she was in. I know she was in this. So she's been in a lot of stuff, and she has a huge IMDb, including Nip Tuck. So apparently she was a big deal in Nip Tuck. But yeah, but she was great in this as Anita. And then, but those are kind of the big names out of this one. The rest of them are not casts that I recognize or know, but it was enough. It was, it was what it needed to be. I think Jeff Daniels, when I look at him, a lot of times I immediately think Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
That's like where my mind goes immediately, especially when he's doing slapstick stuff like this. So, an interesting fact about this movie: it was produced by Disney and Great Oaks Entertainment, which was John Hughes made a short-lived production company called Great Oaks Entertainment, which is even kind of hard to find. But it only did. They were started as a venture between Disney and were with Disney, and they did Jack and 101 Dalmatians and Flubber, and then they're
interesting.
out. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Speaking of interesting, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. You guys are great. I appreciate you hanging out with us and being in the chat and all that tonight with us. We love when you guys are with us, and we want to tell you about a new show that Shannon's working on at the end of this. We're very excited about that, and also kind of reiterate about our park show that comes on Sunday nights at 8:30. We'll tell you a little bit about that and how you can help the channel in a bit. But first, we got to break Shannon over the coals with a little bit of trivia. Yeah, I don't know if you watched the trivia show that my son hosted with his friends, Hakuna Matrivia. If you guys can still catch that on our channel, but I feel like that they would have made you feel proud of all the things that you've been able to answer over time with the things they were not able to answer. But it's a lot of fun. You guys should go. You guys should go watch that. But Shannon, I do have a couple of trivia questions for you. Again, you picked this movie. You specifically said this one. You ragged on me in the chat about the fact that I picked the wrong one. I said, you're right. I'm sorry. Let's talk about this one instead of the animated one. So I can't wait for you to answer all of these trivia questions correctly.
Oh, gosh. Thanks.
How many spots does Pongo have? No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be fun?
Dang it, Rob.
I know. And as a matter of fact, Rosita loves it when we do trivia on here. I don't know if it's because she always likes knowing the answers or that she likes watching people squirm. Not really sure. So you mentioned the little kid in the boardroom. This may be easy for you. You mentioned the little kid in the boardroom, and he was sitting there and he's playing the video games. What was he drinking?
Pepsi?
Final answer?
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Coke.
I was gonna pull it up real quick for you because I know that you would love to see it in person. I want to see if anybody.
I would.
Oh my gosh! Well, we have our answer.
Dr. Pepper.
Rosita immediately said Dr. Pepper. Yes, it is Dr. Pepper.
Dang, I knew it was a soda. I was close.
Well, and I almost said what soda was he drinking, but I didn't do that. But yeah, It was definitely Dr. Pepper. Here's the can sitting here. Product placement. It's not
Who
even like
can
they do.
see that?
It's not. Oh, they showed it a couple different times. This is just me like making sure that you see it. But there was a lot of. Dawn said it's the nectar of the gods. And Dr. People do not fool around. If they're Dr. Pepper people, do not fool around. If they love Dr. Pepper, they love Dr. Pepper. I totally understand that. I was a Diet Coke-aholic for several years. So yeah, it's Dr. Pepper. Which I think, again, it's purposeful product placement. If you ever watch The Big Bang Theory, one of my favorite things to do on that show was to see how they just had the dumbest names for soda. They never had the rights to the original sodas. It was everything. It was like way off. So, yep. So Dr. Pepper, there's that one. How much was Cruella willing to pay for the puppies? What did she offer them?
She offered 500, and then she upped it to 7,500 pounds.
That is correct. That is, yeah, you had that one immediately.
Nailed it.
Clearly, Cruella does not care for Roger. She purposely calls him the wrong name twice. Name either of the names she called him.
I'll give both, Rob. It's Rufus and Roland.
Got them both. Rufus and Roland. Exactly. You nailed it. See, this is so easy for you. What's the brand of van that Horace and Jasper drive? Again, it's kind of purposeful product placement.
It's very Wet Bandits-ish.
Yeah, Patrick's in the chat going, we could have let the trivia die with the old show, is basically what he's saying.
I want to say a Ford, but I feel like that's a stupid answer because they're in London. Or England, rather. UK.
They're in London. They say that at the very beginning, London. So you're good.
Okay. I'm going with a Ford van.
It was a Ford. Yep. I'm going to ask you the most random question that I don't think you'll have the answer to at all. Okay. But it popped out to me immediately because of the NFL draft that has recently taken place. I noticed immediately that Roger has fan gear from his favorite NFL team hanging in his office. What is Roger's favorite NFL team?
I definitely didn't see that. Let's say Cincinnati.
Ronald's getting specific. He says that it was a Ford E350. I'm just waiting to see if the chat knows. It would be interesting. Again, immediately I paused it because I was like, wait a minute. I saw a pennant and I saw a hat, and they went out of their way to decorate his office when he's there testing video games with Pongo. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait. What is this? Rosita says Chiefs. That is definitely a guess. It was, and then Fire Chief said Cincinnati Bengals. It was the Seattle Seahawks. What a random pull.
That is random.
The Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. Mandy said Dolphins ? Yeah. So this one might be easy for you. What was the name of the taxidermist of Cruella's taxidermist? What was his name?
Oh my gosh. That's not easy for me.
What? You love this movie. Why wouldn't that be easy for you?
I was not paying attention during that part.
I just thought that guy was weird. Like, why did they go out of their way to make it that he couldn't talk? And then they were like...
Skinner?
Yes, correct. That is correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
You're like, oh, Skinner. Everybody knows Skinner. I mean, you rolled
I didn't
Rufus
realize
and Roland like that. You didn't know he was a taxidermist?
I was thinking of who brought the tiger overcoat.
Oh, that was Jasper delivered it.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Here's my final question for you, because I was going to ask you this question at the very beginning, and I don't think this is fair, so I'm just going to say it out loud. At the very beginning of the movie, the first thing we see after we get into the interior of Roger's apartment is there's a clock, and the clock is going off, and it falls down and hits poor Pongo in the head. And I was going to ask you what time it was on the clock, but
Oh no.
I know that's yeah. It was 7:05. It was that's too much. But here's the one that I find elusive, and I wanted to ask this one to you because I wondered if you knew. What is their last name?
Oh, she has a hyphenated last name.
But
Something Green, Campbell Green or something like that.
how did you know that? That was exactly correct. That it was Campbell Green. But when they get married, she takes his name because Cruella puts it on the check.
I don't remember his last name.
It's Dearly.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because I feel like she's like Anita, darling, like all of that kind of stuff, kind of like Edna Mode and Darling, and there's like Wendy Moira, Angela, Darling, and so Dearly is the last name that they give in this one. I thought that was interesting, but you nailed it on the Campbell Green thing because I wasn't even going to ask you that one. I wasn't even going to ask you that because it in the newspaper article, and maybe that's where you saw it. It says Roger Dearly to marry Anita Campbell Green.
Yeah.
And you knew it. Why do you know that? Why?
I don't know.
And why is it hyphenated before she gets married? What was the story there? What's the back? What's her backstory? Well, I need
too many
to know.
questions.
I know exactly. It goes back to my whole thing about Roger and his green card wedding. Like, we don't really know. I appreciate you guys playing along in the chat. Thank you guys so much for doing that. And that's I don't know. I always have a lot of fun with that. I hope that everybody else does. But if everybody says, you know what, Rob, let's just never do trivia again, other than Patrick, because he's just trying to get out of it. So if anybody else has that, has that in their head,
I like the challenge.
Yeah, of course. What kind of tiger was it?
It was a Siberian something or other.
That is
Somebody
correct.
Siberian tiger.
Yes. I love how also when she puts it on, she looks in the mirror and says, "Mirror, mirror."
Yes.
Again, another little Easter egg running into that. Like I said, they get to the point where they've kidnapped the puppies to make the coat, and they've got to know immediately. They didn't even seem sure after that Cruella was the one to take them, even though she screamed that she wanted them. She offered them money. She fired Anita when she wouldn't sell them to them, and they're like, "Is it her? Is it?" She does like spots now. Interesting. She did ask me like how the fur was, whether it's coarse or fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little too gullible for my liking.
Maybe it's the milkman. It's probably him. He's been out for those dogs ever since Pongo used to carry the bottles in with his mouth. Yeah, it was really weird. But so they send the police to their house for this. And then the police have nothing else to do. Maybe it's just because London's such a safe place to live, other than to send like 20 cars to pick up Cruella's henchmen. I mean, there's so many police cars. There's so many, and there's so many resources they put out here for these 15 puppies. It's just nuts to me. And again, I the suspension of disbelief because it's an animated film come to life. But I'm like, oh, the resources on the London Police Department to try to find this. But and another thing that's very cartoony is when the dogs are getting out and they're trying to catch them, Horace actually literally freezes.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't care for that. Or when the horse launches Cruella out of the barn.
Yes. Yeah, that was something too. But again, it's cartoon comes to life. There was a point where Skinner even looked like Judge Doom from Roger Rabbit as he's walking into the house and got his like big rubber gloves on to do the job. But and why was there a big tub of molasses in the barn? Like what was?
I never understood that. Even when I was a kid and when I watched it as an adult, I thought, pay attention because why is there a big giant vat of molasses in the middle of the barn? I still don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and they go out of their way to let you know that it was, molasses. And also that, the raccoons lured her to it. So the raccoons apparently knew it was molasses, but it's very Creature from the Black Lagoon when she's trying to get out of this thing. And this is why I'm like, did they only give her $4 million? Give the woman more money. What must that have taken for her to be all in that stuff? It's so nasty.
I would do that for $4 million, please.
Fire chief, where do you store your molasses? You know what? Fair point. That's a fair point. If I had a barn, I would definitely have kept it in the barn in an oversized vat. That's definitely here's that crack police squad going out. That we need this many. We need this many. That's so many. It is so many. It's a lot. And then they finally get picked up by the police, and Skinner's in there too. And there's this part where Skinner actually screams later when Cruella's in there too. But
I did want to talk about this that Stormy Stitch brought up about the what would you call it? Not display, but at MGM Studios back in the day when they had, I believe, costumes, but I distinctly remember they had the bicycle scene. It was a green screen and the bicycle, and would pick someone to recreate that scene. And my dad got picked to do it. And so that's on memory. And I think that is something I enjoy about this movie. It gives me nostalgic feels of when MGM Studios was bringing their films to life. Yeah, I remember being in there.
Yeah, no, you're right. But again, I feel like there's not enough Dalmatian representation in the parks. There should be a dark ride. This is a chase. This entire movie, whether you watch the animated movie or you watch the live action, it's a chase. It's a chase that she's chasing the puppies. And that was another thing that was very much like the movie, is that in the animated one, very much like the animation, is that she leaned out the car door to watch the tracks. Like she's out the window. That's exactly like the character does in, like, that's so much Cruella. So, I mean, I think that that's really neat the way they did that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the puppies find their way home, and they bring them all back to the Dearleys, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, here are your 17. Do you mind taking all 101?"
Yeah.
Also, there's that moment where they're like, "Hey, we've got them. We've counted them all. There's 100." And then you hear the barking in the distance, and then here comes Lucky, and he's like, "Wait. It's 101 Dalmatians." Boom, we have our titular line. We said it. We said it in the movie. But that one, the idea, they're like, well, we'll take them all in. We have no money. We can't afford. We're going to have to buy a lot more jewelry. That's for sure. So that and we're going to have to come up with a lot more names. But also the fact that no one else had looked for their own Dalmatians. And they're like, no one else has mentioned them, so.
Yeah. It's so unrealistic. I hate that last scene with the mansion.
Well, you mean the Dalmatian plantation? It will be a sensation. They don't even mention that it's called a Dalmatian plantation. They're like, here it is. And I don't. Where did they get the money? Is it from selling the video game? They got enough money to buy a castle.
He finally sold a kid on a good video game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Well, again, just like the Dalmatian plantation, his video game will be a sensation. Yeah.
So unrealistic.
What? How dare you? How dare you say this is
unrealistic?
Imagine
having to clean up all that dog poop. It's a lot of do.
But the castle, come on, with the spots.
Look at that. That's an outrageous number of dogs.
Does that make you angry?
Dogs. Yeah, it does. Too many.
Yeah. Good times. Well, like I said, then the end credits happen, and you hear you hear Dr. John's version of Cruella de Vil. So, yeah. So that was that movie, and like we talked about, there's not really a lot of Dalmatian representation in Disney parks. I wish there was more. We have the All-Star Movies, like you talked about, has the Dalmatians area, but for a franchise like this, it feels like there should be more.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was in Once Upon a Time and all of those other series. And have you watched all the rest of this Dalmatian content on Disney Plus? The 102. Did you ever watch 102 Dalmatians?
I probably have, but I have no recollection of it.
Sounds very like courtroomish. I have no recollection. I plead the fifth. I do not know. One of the things I always talk about on Disney Plus stuff is the extras. There are no extras. There's not even the original trailer. It's just like a video promo of this release. And that's it. It's just like a little clip of Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil. So, what is the best role that Glenn Close has ever done? Is it this one? Is it Nova Prime in the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind? Is that her best role to date? Like, what is her best role ever? Is it Fatal Attraction? I saw for around Easter a picture from them, Michael Douglas and Glenn Close from back in the day, holding a bunny, and it said Happy Easter. And I just thought, that's wrong. That is so wrong.
I'm not sure.
So Fatal Attraction
she was in other good things.
1987. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, maybe this is it for you. Maybe this is the one that's your favorite.
Maybe.
So, yeah. But anyway, so before we get was there anything else you wanted to talk about this? Again, we talked about the cast, we talked about the music or lack thereof, we talked about comparisons to the animated a little bit, the story in general, our suspension of disbelief over some of the very animated kind of things, like passing over the wedding thing very quickly, or some of the ridiculousness of the Home Alone knockoff. Anything else that you wanted to talk about before we get to Final Judgment?
No, I think we got to everything.
Okay. So thank you guys so much for being with us on this new channel. And if you have not already, please subscribe to the Park Adventurers Club. And you can even join our pack. We love our pack members. Thank you guys for being in the chat. I see everybody here tonight. We call them the pack because it is the Park Adventurers Club, and so you can join our Patreon if you want to help the channel. Right now we're still not quite at 1,000 subs. We're actually very close, but we also need some watch hours for YouTube to decide we're worthy of going to the next level. We're close, so anything y'all can do can help. Will help. If you have 101 Dalmatians at your house, turn on the Park Adventurers Club channel for them. It's parkadventuresclub.com. Just turn it on for them when you go to work, and just let them enjoy all the great content that we have. Apparently, people love hearing us talk. But again, you can help out by going to patreon.com/GoPac, GOPAC, to join our Patreon, and you can be a part of our Discord, and we would love to have you as part of our community. But special thanks to our higher level helpers, our contributors, Jungle Cruiser, Rosita, William, Monica, Vince, Jordan, and Sienna. Thank you guys. And again, you can follow us on any social platform at Park ADV Club. It sounds like AV Club, but parkadvclub.com. We have a lot of content coming up, and so we have tonight we're doing the 101 Dalmatians review. Friday we have a brand new show hosted by this lady. It is called The Happiest Stays, rating the resorts. You want to tell them a little bit about that before we go on to Final Judgment here, Shannon, your baby?
Yeah, and I don't think this is going to be your run-of-the-mill rating Disney resort show. I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of everything that you know and love about resorts and kind of put my ratings to the test. I see that I love certain resorts, but when it comes down to putting pen to paper, I don't know if that's really true. So please tune in and see how this first one turns out.
Yep. So that'll be Friday night. This Friday night at 8 p.m. is when that one premieres. And then stay tuned for more of those. Every Friday night, we're going to try to do something different, rotation. Again, last Friday was the Hakuna Matrivia, the Happiest Stays this Friday, and we'll continue to bring you guys more content. Sunday nights is our Park Adventurers Club Live. That is our parks show, and we would love to have you join us. We're going to do a look at Star Wars at the Disney parks because it is going to be May the 4th. Great time to bring that up. But you can go check out last week's show. And the one before that. We would love to have you guys come and hang out and watch our content and hang out with us on the live shows, and we just appreciate you guys being with us. And again, the biggest thing you can do to support the channel is to show up, subscribe, and like the videos and hang out with us. We appreciate you. All right, so now is the time. Now is the best time, Shannon, it's 1996. It's a 1996 movie. It's a 30-year-old movie. But if someone was asking and looking for recommendations from you, would you take your very precious reputation and put it on the line? And would you recommend this movie?
I wanted to love this one so badly because in my head and in my heart and my memories, I love this movie. But watching it back as an adult, I do not think it is very good. I still think Glenn Close is an absolute queen in it. She was great, but the movie itself, I did not care for it. So I think if you have little ones and they're watching the same movies over and over and over again, it may be nice to just throw this one in the mix. Then don't watch it again for 20 years or maybe ever.
Or 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. Yeah.
You know what? I would say that go back and watch the 1961 original one. I like that one better. I love, to your point, Glenn Close. Great. And again, you said it, Queen. She was great in this, and she really committed to this one. And I can't believe that they dumped her in molasses and all of these other things that happened to her in this one. But and I don't think anyone could have done Cruella at that time any better than she did. So that's great. But I would rather, if I was showing this to a child, I would, or even for myself, I would probably watch, as I wanted to, the original animated movie. Sorry, I did bring that up.
Sorry, Rob.
So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. I would recommend watch 100 or the original 1961 101 Dalmatians animated, and then put that next to Home Alone the original, and you kind of have this movie locked, and you've got all of those things. But again, if your kid thinks it's funny when a heavy guy falls downstairs, maybe this is the movie for him or her. So, but I honestly, I didn't hate it. I remember seeing it originally. It's part of the Disney canon. It's not, according to Rotten Tomatoes, it's near the worst movie. It was number 20. You know what number 21 was? 102 Dalmatians.
Oh, what was 23?
What was the last one on the list? Not what you think it would be. So you would think that it would be Snow White, but that was number 18 because of all the hate that one's gotten. They rated the worst live action movie. You would never have picked this in 100 years. It's the Tom Hanks live action Pinocchio.
Oh, I never saw it.
Well, that's part of the problem. You're part of the problem, Shannon. So Tom Hanks played Geppetto in that one. But they said, out of 23 Disney live action remakes, it was number 23. Number 1 was the Jon Favreau Jungle Book. But there's going to be a new king when Stitch hits the streets. It's going to be a new king when Lilo and Stitch, the live action movie, hits theaters in the end of May. It's going to skyrocket. It's going to be right up there. And then Moana 2, or the live action Moana, comes after that. So who knows? There's supposed to be a Hercules. I think I heard they put Tangled on hold. So
why? Why? Just let the good movies live. They don't need remakes.
Okay. You heard it here first, guys. Shannon said it's time to cut it off. Again, thank you guys so much for being with us in the chat. Alicia and Fire Chief and Care Bear and Ronald and Stormy Stitch and Jake and CK Barry and everybody who Patrick joined for a little bit in there. I know that he was there. And Dawn. I can't thank you guys enough for showing up and hanging out, and Jungle Cruiser for being with us and being on the show, being here with us is amazing. We're looking for ways to bring you guys in even more in the future, so stay tuned for that. But otherwise, have a great week. Hopefully, we will see you come for the premiere of the Happiest Stays on Friday night at 8 p.m. and then back here live Sunday night at 8:30 for our May the 4th episode of the Park Adventurers Club. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.